All right, there's a lot to talk about in this video, and we got our first trailer slash behind the scenes of the new 30th anniversary special of MMPR Once and Always. And we got a lot of info from just these promotional photos and the quick behind the scene moments throughout the trailer. Now, there's a lot of theories going around. First things that we do know that Barbara Goodson and Richard Horvitz are confirmed coming back. We actually do see a glimpse of Rita in one of the beginning parts of the behind the scenes where we see the MMPR Rangers come back and are fighting a bunch of putties. Now, this scene was the first thing that kind of threw people off, and everyone has different theories because we see the entire team, including the Green Ranger, and everyone's like, well, who's the Green Ranger? Because we have all the second Rangers. We know Jason David Frank did not record anything for this special. So it's like, who is it? Some people theorized that it would be Adam. And I'm saying to myself, I mean, that is a possibility because, again, some people were thinking, well, he's Zeo Green and Turbo Green. But it doesn't make any sense from, a connection to us. I mean, Adam is a great ranger and all, but he's not the Green Ranger. Other people are also thinking that the scene that we see the Rangers fighting as a flashback. And I agree on that, but for a different reason. First thing, some people are thinking, oh, it's a flashback of them just filming like something during the first season of MMPR to give a little bit of info to, kids who don't know MMPR. They give some sort of background to people who are new. And I'm like, that makes sense, but I think personally it's a flashback sequence, but I think it's a flashback sequence for the sake of what happened just before the special started. Because obviously the big thing they have to deal with is Tree Trang being dead, and they're incorporating it into the show. And when I first heard about that and having her daughter appear into the special, eventually we're assuming she'll become the Yellow Ranger, I always thought to myself, how are they going to incorporate Trini's death? It would feel very lame if she had died off screen or in an episode that we never saw. It would feel worthless, lackluster. To have a Ranger die, it has to be impactful, emotional, very important, just like how Kendricks died in Lost Galaxy, saving Cassie's life. It has to be in that caliber. I was also thinking to myself, what could be impactful to give a worthy end to Trini's character in the show and also help enhance things and other problems. And there are other issues in the special that they have to deal with, because the main problem is we're not going to see Jason, we're not going to see Kimberly, and we're not going to see Tommy. How do you deal with that inside universe? There's various reasons in the real world why it's going on, but in universe it doesn't make any sense while you have all the other Rangers come back but these people. It would make more sense if they were actually captured and removed from the story. And plus, one of the photos that was revealed for the special, thanks to this photo, I think I understand where the story is going. Again, it's still my theory. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, and I could be completely wrong. But let's start off with the first things that we do know from what we see in the trailer / behind the scenes and photos. We do see the Rangers fighting putties in this basic background. And we do know Rita Repulsa returns somehow. What I think is going on here is that we're seeing a flashback of one of the final missions of the MMPR cast with the original cast, in-universe explanation. I think what happened was Adam, Aisha, Rocky, all the other Rangers that replaced the original team had moved on. Either they're using other powers that they had gained in the future, or they simply said, you know what, I'm going to give back the powers to the original team. The original team has still been protecting Earth in their own way, and eventually what happened was after Zed escaped in Dino Fury, he and somehow Rita coming back attacked the Rangers. My theory, what I believe is going on in the story, to make it more impactful to us, give a proper ending to Trini's character, and to also fix a long-standing problem that we as fans hated from day one. What I believe is going on, Zed, when he returned to Earth, ambushed the Rangers, captured Jason, Kimberly, and Tommy. Trini attempted to stop Zed and Rita from capturing the Rangers and died in the process. The reason why I believe this is what's going on, it would make more sense. From our perspective, we want Trini's death to be important she has to have a noble sacrifice in some capacity. What better way of dying trying to save her friends in any which way as possible? And it makes more sense because when we see the flashback footage, we also see Billy and Zach in their Ranger form. So it's possible the reason why Trini died was that she died saving Billy and Zach from being captured. There's a couple of other reasons why I believe I'm correct. And one of the photos that they released showed us in this really cool room with the four, Rocky, Zach, Billy, and Catherine inside this weird room and this really cool, interesting table. Let's look at the table first of all. I really like its design because it has references from past seasons if you know what to look for. The base of the table has this kind of map of the solar system where we see the moon, the sun, Earth, and that makes me think of Queen Bansheera and the planets aligning aspect. So that element of Lightspeed Rescue is here. Other things that look interesting is this generator on the top. It looks very futuristic, very important, powerful. It almost like something from Time Force. The other things that you can notice from that photograph is that there's gears in the back. Those could be referencing the Machine Empire, so it's possible this lair was created by Zed and Rita, ransacking past villains, either technology that was lost and left over, or simply asking them for their help. Because what we also see in the background is the figurines of the Rangers being chained up, which is very similar to what happened with Mesogog's Geno Randomizer machine when he captured Lothor. He turned him into a figure as well, and it's also a nice little reference to when Rita gets shrunk down. What's going on here is possible that Zed stole all the various technologies from villains, and he created this machine that's siphoning the power of the Rangers off. And that's the reason why the Rangers are in this room. They located Zed's hidden lair. Another thing that makes me believe Zed and Rita are the ones who killed Trini. Look at the Rangers. We know this is Zed's and Rita's lair in some capacity. All the Rangers are angry, but if you look at Billy specifically, he's grabbing for his morpher. Now, everyone knows that Zordon is one of his important rules was never to escalate a fight. Now, we know Billy. We know his personality. We know who he is. He would never want to break any of Zordon's rules. What would push him to the point where he was willing to just morph and fight immediately like this? It would make perfect sense if Billy was so pissed off because Trini was recently killed by Zed. Another reason why I believe they would do this is because as fans, since the very beginning, when we first saw Lord Zed, we loved him for his, spookiness, his suit, the way he was going after the Rangers. But what happened over the time we saw Lord Zed and Rita Repulsa? He became stupid, comical. They became jokes. Even Rito and Goldar became jokes. It was a constant problem that we, as kids, hated because, again, parents are the ones who made them change the characters so that they were more funny and goofy, and they were never able to feel, menacing and more powerful. Of course, Power Rangers is going to be goofy every now and again, but at the core, villains work best as villains when they're treated serious and not turned into jokes. When Rita brainwashed Tommy and made him fight the Rangers unwillingly, that was like her peak moment. We loved when Rita was able to do these horrific things, and it makes sense in a personal way. Kimberly and Tommy would be captured because Rita wants to get back at them. Remember the episode when Kimberly was, faking as Rita Repulsa? And of course, Kimberly having her relationship with Tommy in those days? Of course Rita would want to go after her. And of course Tommy, of all people, they would want to capture him because after all what he's done, he's betrayed Rita. He's constantly stopped Zed and all these future villains and gotten people's way. They would definitely want to go after them. And of course Zed would want to take any advantage and would have captured Jason along with them. He would be most likely trying to capture all 6 of them, but thanks to Trini's sacrifice, they were unable to get Billy and Zach. It fixes the issue that we had with Zed and Rita. If they're the ones who killed Trini, it's a very powerful moment because, again, in most cases, Rangers usually don't die. But we need to have higher stakes in this type of story. Second, it redeems Zed and Rita again for being true evil, and we get them back to what we used to like about them in the beginning of their seasons. It would be more interesting to see the Rangers react to Trini's death when it's just recently happened versus where it could have happened many years ago while Trini's daughter was growing up. It wouldn't be as impactful. It would be, it's been many years. They lost her. Of course, people would always be sad and it would always be in their memory, but it would be more worthwhile seeing it now. And it would also make sense that, Adam and Aisha, who seem to be with the SPD branch, it would take something this powerful to bring them back from where they've been in order to deal with this huge situation. Because again, if you lose a Ranger, this becomes extremely serious, and Zed becomes a real important focal point, because if he can kill a Ranger or gain some sort of weird powers by taking the energy from the Rangers that he's captured in these figure forms, because all we know, this could be like a huge modification from like the candle powers. You know how in the older episodes they were able to absorb or strain the Rangers' powers? Maybe that's what this contraption is. Maybe that's what's going on. Zed is able to use this ability. It's possible that he even stole some of the technology from Void Knight with his wife and all that stuff. And maybe that's where they got the idea from bringing Rita back, somehow bypass what Zordon did to remove evil. Maybe we'll understand how this process happened and how Zed turned back into Zed versus his human form. I don't know if I'm right. I could be completely wrong and I'm over-analyzing certain things. It could just be very simple and basic. But I personally think if they showed Trini's death on camera, saving Billy and Zach, because one of the things that was always very difficult to bring back was Walter Jones and David Yost, because they always wanted a really good specific story that either featured them or used the characters, like the ensemble cast, in a really good way. And what better way, since Billy would be one of the main, if not the main focal point of this story, where he has to deal with Trini's death. After all, Billy and Trini were very close. She was the Watson to Billy's Sherlock Holmes. She was the only one who really understood his nerdiness, his geekiness. She could translate what he's blabbering about. So they always had that close friendship, and everyone always remembers, Billy, you're too high. It makes much more sense to have the old Rangers captured and the secondary Rangers for the MMPR team to come back to help and fill their role. Yes, if they wanted to, they could have a Tommy's son play the character. But again, you're introducing us to Trini's daughter. You don't really want to have too many new characters come in. This special is really about the MMPR cast. We're going to see them possibly for one last time all together in this one go. So there's a lot of potential in there, and I don't want them to overload it with too much stuff. Stick to the main cast, Zed, Rita, and the MMPR Rangers. The one thing that I was really surprised at was the rag bug too. I was always hoping in the back of my head, can we see the rad bug? And I was thinking to myself, we'll probably never see the rad bug in any way, because again, it was a very small, limited thing that they used. Again, it was originally just simply stock footage from Jew Ranger from 1 or 2 episodes that they used it in, and they really didn't have anything to it. But I always liked it because the rad bug to me was always a part of Billy's personality. But I always prefer the rough and gruff type of builders. It's like, I have to solve a problem. I have to stick a banana with a flashlight. I was not expecting to see the rad bug 2 out of this, but it shows that the production values are high. And also from the photos of the rad bug, we see that they're at a cemetery. So we will get a moment with Trini's daughter and Billy mourning the loss at her gravesite. We grew up with the series, and I always said, Power Rangers has to be Power Rangers. It shouldn't be turned into this super adult, insane, intense series. It has to always be Power Rangers. It's for kids. But they could still incorporate more difficult things. Power Rangers in the past has done that many a times before. Kendrick's before has died. Cole's parents have died. We've been through death before and we've seen it. We've seen gravestones, but it's not usually done because, again, ultimately Power Rangers is a kid show. They don't want to always focus on, death, but it's good to always, use these extra bits to make it feel more real, because again, being a Ranger is fun and games, but at the same time, you're risking your life and you have the chance of dying by saving the world. It always feels more interesting when the character has to deal with a situation that just went out of their control. And it will be interesting to see where all the Rangers go, where Billy goes, where Zack goes and how they deal with all these issues. And I'm not really complaining anymore about, it being, Cosmic Fury only being 10 episodes, because if my theory was right and they diverted, half the budget of Dino Fury into this special, it's paying off. We got a new command center. We got the rad bug. There's so many new things, and we have even more, questions from the behind the scenes. Because if you look through most of the behind the scenes while in the command center, you can notice in the background the energy tube is cracked. So something has gone wrong during this sequence. We don't really know what. It is kind of confusing. Like, why is there an energy tube in the command center? Because again, Zordon's gone. I mean, there's always a possibility that maybe when they created the new command center, it was always there just in case if Demetria came back, for example. Also, another thing is that maybe the energy tube was made out of respect to Zordon. It wouldn't feel right to make a brand new command center. Alpha and Billy are working in the new place, and then there's just no energy tube. It would just feel weird to not have it there. But something does happen during the special, so maybe it's linked to what is going on with the Rangers being captured. Or maybe, who knows, maybe they're trying to bring Zordon back in some capacity. That would be an interesting idea. I mean, I don't know. I'm always torn on the idea of Zordon coming back because, again, it's just like Kendrick's. I never liked that she came back. Was it cool that she came back? Because, again, Kendrick is back. She can be the Pink Ranger again. She was fun in the Lost Galaxy Lightspeed team up. It would have sucked if she wasn't there. But I did like Corone being the Pink Ranger. So it's always a hard thing to balance. Do you bring back Zordon to, restore the balance of this? But then at the same time, it ruins the sacrifice of what he did. It ruins that moment of Andros killing him to save the world. But there is a possibility that they just figure out a loophole to see Zordon again. It's possible that he's joined the morphing grid in some capacity. Maybe the morphing masters are able to link maybe the spirit world back to the real world. Because again, Zato was dead at the end of Dino Fury, and somehow he was alive. They could easily use whatever they do there as a setup to bring Zordon back, or at least allow us just to see and hear him for a small moment. It's possible that the only way to stop Zed is to recreate the Zordon wave and to convert him back into a human. And maybe you need Zordon's energy in order to do that. So it's possible that's like one of the final things they have to figure out what to do. I'm just guessing here. We have no idea what's going to go on, but we'll find out on April 19th. There's a lot of ways they can go, but from what I see, I think it's going to be a good special because from the references, from the characters, from the cast, from the locations that we just seen, and the possibility of, fixing Zed and Rita's personalities and no longer just being goofy idiots, potentially having, Billy be, struggling between his anger and trying to help and trying to remember Zordon's rules. It would be a good way to show, the character's growth and where everyone will end up at the end of this special. Who knows what will happen?